Hey guys, before the video starts, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Emma Art 13. She made this brilliant fan art of a full body cat for me reaching 2,000 subscribers, and I love it. I love the detail of the glasses. I love it's a full body cat. She really put her effort into it, and she took her time because it definitely shows with the glasses because you can see the eyes behind the cat, and I really love that. And yeah, go follow her on Instagram. That link will be in the description. And if you guys do make fan art, I will put it at the beginning of the video showing my respect because I love fan art. I honestly love art in general. But yeah, anyways guys, I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to me reacting to Game Theory, A Boy and His Dog, Boneworks / Duck Season by the Game Theorist. Now, I have not seen this, but I have seen the two previous videos, and his theory seems to be that the guy you're playing as in Boneworks is the kid from Duck Season, and I think that's the video for today, where the kid must have found the void. Well, apparently, his theory is that he released the clock cat into... So there's 3 doors, apparently, and one of them is Boneworks. And then, apparently, there's probably going to be a 3rd game, and that's with the cat, because the cat's footprints was seen in that door. And then there's a final game, where it's like, it could be a more darker and grittier version. But also, it's said that, like, Boneworks, the guy went into the void or something like that, because they had this void, and the Boneworks was basically blocking the void. It was the barrier to the void, and someone from, apparently, this evil company called Gammond harnessed the void. This guy went in there, and he's now immortal. He could be anytime, anywhere, and I think that will go into his theory that this is the kid, or maybe he's the dog. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, guys, originally in the description, make sure to subscribe to the Game Theory. Sign up to the description. Let's get right into it now.
Get ready for a mini theory.
Oh, yeah, it's a mini theory. Oh, or is it the beginning of the video? Because it's 16 minutes.
Definitely didn't do that one right. Let's try it again. Get ready for a mini theory.
Yeah. Watch, it's going to be part of the thumbnail.
If I'm being honest, this is less a theory and more wild, overreaching speculation with just a light amount of evidence. A game hypothesis, if you will.
Game
a personal
hypothesis?
headcanon that, to me, makes Stress Level Zero's metaverse of killer dogs and Inception-style universe hopping significantly more compelling. And it's exactly what I alluded to last episode. That David, this little blonde...
Oh, this is the mini theory.
Blockbuster rental weekend becomes a desperate fight for survival, that he grows up to become Arthur Ford.
Arthur, I don't know.
Crowbarring aficionado in
maybe
Boneworks.
they're the same
it's
person.
It's a high-tech 2020s version of Sansa's Nest, except this time, I think there's a slim, super slim, itty-bitty chance that I might be right. So let's just get the formality out of the way and talk about it. Hello, Internet.
Totally
welcome to Game Theory. Let's begin. What first got me going down this insane rabbit hole was this scene in the early game of Boneworks. As you're walking down the streets filled with turret bots and head crabs, you're suddenly back in a Monogon office lunchroom, and you see this, a small replica of a suburban home. Not only did the out-of-nowhere inclusion of a tiny house in the middle of an otherwise sterile office setting set off my ears tingles, it got a lot of viewers at home to tingle too.
Tyler Birchfield says it's the house from Duck Season. Is it? Is it the house from Duck Season?
That's a good question. We did do a demonic ritual in a treehouse of some form.
Oh.
I believe this to be a replica of David's house from Duck Season. Now, admittedly, it's not perfect. There are some windows that are out of place, a sliding door is missing, and the fence is a different style, but the essential elements are there, namely this doghouse and this outdoor playset in the backyard. Very intentionally put there by the developers to show us the parallels between these two houses. In the best min ending of Duck Season, we watch as the dog sprints around the outside of the house before being taken down in the backyard with the appropriate amount of force.
Oh, yeah.
The news coverage of this slow-speed chase shows us the outside of David's house, and it proves that it does indeed have a railed-in front landing, just like we see in the model. Again, it's not exact, but it's certainly close enough to suggest that these two houses are meant to be one and the same. But why would a replica of David's house be in Monaghan's break room? Well,
why?
we see attached to the house a series of oversized pipes, all leading up to a giant black box with the Monaghan logo. Could this be Monaghan server or an actual Monaghan office? Based on the small door that we see at the base of the structure, it makes it look like it's an actual building. And as we approach the endgame of Boneworks, we see these sorts of pipes making a reappearance at the base of the time tower before our big battle to restart the system. The pipes are here, along the left wall in a room full of, wouldn't you know it, duck season displays. In the center, we have what can be assumed to be a magical void rock, presumably one of the first discoveries that allowed Monaghan to tap into the mysterious powers of the void. And over here on the right, we see our infamous cat clock, one we talked about a lot in the last episode, alongside the Gammon Kingbit gaming console and a bunch of clocks. We know from Duck Season and Duck Season
Why would they have that,
objects and characters that are able to cross into and out of the void space. So it appears that Monaghan secured them and studied them in order to understand how they could tap into and utilize the void in building their myth
They
OS
trapped
city.
the cat
The
clock.
material flowing through those pipes is presumably the void energy that's powering the whole operation. So what does any of this have to do with David's
Wait,
house?
so is
Well,
most of the
events in
void
Duck Season were
energy
pretty
in
clearly
their
the
house?
first instance of a void-based creature coming out into the real world.
Yeah,
The
did
secret
it
message
like
from Nine
unleash
Cat
the
we covered
void
last
into their
video
house?
confirms this. It's been 30 years since the void was last opened, so that's a pretty big deal. In short, David's house becomes the nexus point, this gateway into another dimension. Plus, it's easy to forget that Duck Season has a canon ending, explicitly labeled as the canon ending. You don't do that unless you plan to do something with that story later on. And in the canon ending, we watch as David successfully destroys the killer dog and leaves his house. But look again, there's an important detail here. Notice that when the dog explodes, we see his particles erupt everywhere, but they don't disappear. They don't fade away. David also smashes the haunted cartridge, but leaves it and his Kingbit gaming system back at his house before burying his mother and running away into the distance. It seems clear to me that Monaghan learned of David's story, researched the house, and tapped into the remnant void energy that was found there. Between the dog particles, the cursed cartridge, and the game system, the house is like a hot spot of void. And by building their office near that hot spot,
wait a minute.
Their pipes, Monaghan has been able to use the void energy to build their business and their VR city. And already you can start to see how David might be playing a bigger role in the story. He's the only one who truly knows what happened inside his house, that some being leapt out of a TV to attack him and his family. He's also got a very personal stake in all of this. In Duck Season, David loses a lot to the void. His mother is killed by a void creature, and he's forced to leave home and never return. In fact, it's likely he's held responsible for his mother's death. The police aren't going to believe that some otherworldly creature popped out of a TV and killed her. It would mean that he's practically a criminal on the run. It also means that he would probably have to change his name away from David into something different. Maybe something like Arthur. I mean, if I were him and had to go through all that, I'd want to make sure to either seek revenge on all other void-based cryptids or ensure that the void is closed forever. Or make sure that I'm the one exploiting the void for my own good. And as I said before, in the canon ending of Duck Season, David is still out there. He's on the road.
Yeah, he is.
His story continues on. So we've connected his childhood house to MythOS, and we've established that David definitely has the motivation to come back and interrupt Monaghan's void activities. But there's more. Something I've pointed out in the previous two theories is that when Arthur is near the end of his journey in Boneworks, after resetting the myth system and preparing to enter the Boneworks layer of the system, he's led through a door by a void being. But there's some really particular details about that door. First, the knob is made of David's old baseball, one presumably given to him by his father, who was himself a professional baseball player. We can assume this since we know that David's dad played for a team with a dog mascot, and a dog character has clearly signed the ball. Now, why would that ball be there, of all places, on the boundary between
because they tapped into the void?
It makes zero sense. In the canon ending, David just leaves his house. He doesn't enter the void, he doesn't transition any objects into it, so it implies that either someone in-game programmed that detail in as an Easter egg to his original house, thereby commemorating the thing that made void technology possible to begin with, or that this whole sequence is somehow a product of Arthur's mind, in which case he would have to have been aware of the ball, and it would presumably be meaningful to him in some way. So that's all well and good, but the kicker to me me, and quite honestly the strongest bit of evidence for this game hypothesis, is the other strange detail of this door. 2 words: welcome home. The void is literally welcoming Arthur back. Is it because time is repeating and we've been through this door before? Maybe, as we've established.
Sorry, I screwed up. There was an ad, but it might be off. The audio might be off.
Door means that the 2 clues need to be taken together, which reads much more clearly as a person coming full circle. Arthur coming back to where it all began. He's home again, but he wasn't around for when it all began, or was he? If Arthur and David are truly one and the same, these 2 little details of the baseball and the text welcoming him home would make a lot of sense. Arthur's journey would have started when he was attacked by a killer dog in a video game, and he's dedicated his life since to getting his revenge. And at this juncture in Boneworks, he is truly finally home. He's back to where his journey first started. He's now ready to face the creatures of the void one more time. Welcome home could also mean something else. When you go through the door, the game suddenly changes drastically. We go from a Portal-esque future world with sterile visuals and modern aesthetics to a dark dungeon lit by torches. The final level of the game is a literal fantasy world with ye olde Coliseum, ye olde dungeons, and yon castle thither. It is a jarring switch for the gameplay, but if you've been paying attention, it does make some level of sense. You see, it seems that we've been dropped into Fantasyland, a game that's been hinted at throughout various posters and binders in Boneworks, a game that, we're told, is being produced by Stress Level 0 Studios.
Wait, what?
Yeah, in the lore of the game, Stress Level 0 is itself a character and canonical entity that works just like it does in the real world, producing games. Just again, like in FNAF VR, where Scott Cawthon kind of almost maybe inserts himself into the lore. Oh wait, no, it's a different indie developer, but still very closely parallels to his own personal story. I'm not looking for reasons to draw parallels between these 2. Now, why would I bring that detail up? 1, the welcome home could be implying that Arthur once worked at Stress Level 0, so he's coming home to an old and presumably long-forgotten project. Alternatively, and more excitingly, consider this. Last episode, I showcased one of the secret Easter eggs from Duck Season that had you unlocking a Stress Level 0 showcase booth, like the type of installation you'd see at an industry event like E3. Or at least E3 back when people cared about it, and not E3 now where literally no company wants to attend. This year, it's just gonna be me there holding a Mad Catz controller and an oversized novelty bag full of sadness. Anyway, that showcase room has 2 very clear and deliberate sides. One inside the booth itself, and one outside, where randomly we see Mom working on her computer. Could it be that she works at Stress Level 0 Studios, producing early games for them? That Fantasyland was one of her earliest projects, and so David being welcomed home is him returning back to the unfinished game that his mother once worked on at her old company, an early prototype that was trying to build a VR experience off the power of the void. Could be. And here is where everything starts to come together. You see, I don't just think that David is Arthur. I think that David is Arthur Ford and is also the dog. We've established time and time again that the void exists beyond time. So an older version of David coming back to send a message to his younger version absolutely makes sense. We know that David's father was in a baseball team with a dog mascot, so future David could choose to disguise himself in that way. There's also the mystery of the final "It's Me" tape from Duck Season, where the dog sends a message to David, "You, me, baby." I thought that was a father sending a loving message to his son, "You're my baby," back in my very first theory on Duck Season. But knowing that the dog isn't the father, what does this message mean? Well, it could translate to "You are me as a child." We also know that in one of the game's other endings, the dog is sympathetic towards David when he gets trapped inside the void. He's not a killer all the time. But why? Why would a future David dress as a dog to revisit his earlier self to kill his mother and potentially himself? Well, it's to prevent an apocalypse. Last episode, we talked a lot about how the next game in the Stress Level 0 metaverse is going to be about a machine uprising where monsters from the void wipe humanity out, or something like that. And we just talked about how David's mom, working at Stress Level 0 Studios, could be working on some of the earliest tests of a void-based game. To me, this all reads as future David going back to where the void first opens in an attempt to stop her, to stop it all from happening, to stop people from accessing the void and thereby releasing these monsters out into the real world. He's closing the loop, except it doesn't work. Young David kills his older self, and Monaghan is able to steal the technology for themselves. Anyway, like I said, wild speculation, but the clues, and definitely the storytelling, are certainly there. Anyway, going back to the slightly less aggressive theory of David being Arthur, we know that Duck Season takes place in the summer of 1988. It's in the Steam description for the game. It's also made clear based on the calendar Mom has posted on the kitchen refrigerator. According to the game's wiki, David is 11 years old. Moving over to Boneworks, we know that Arthur Ford's attack on Monaghan is happening in 1997, shortly before MythOS City opens to the public. This would make David roughly 20. Still young, but certainly old enough to look like this and be holding down a full-time job. This is especially true when you compare his look to his co-workers Alora and Hayes, who themselves also look to be on the younger side. Now, there is one big elephant in the room: David's looks versus Arthur's looks. You might immediately point out that David is super blonde as a kid and Arthur Ford is decidedly not. And yeah, I get that. That is huge evidence against the theory, and one of the reasons I started the whole episode out by calling this wild speculation with just a pinch of evidence sprinkled in. Then again, it is a fact that children's hair color can and often does change naturally when they go through puberty, with blonde, tow-headed children seeing their hair darken to brown as the amount of eumelanin in the hair increases when they mature. I was one such kid, a blonde bombshell back in the day, and now just, you know, I got a mop of muddy poop brown on my head. Well, barely even that anymore because I shaved it all off for charity. So that could explain away the difference in hair. The difference in eye color, on the other hand, though, is a lot harder to get away with. Sure, like hair color, eye color can change with age. It happens to 10 to 15% of the Caucasian population, but there's one big catch with that. It only tends to happen to children under the age of 1. Then again, there is one other explanation here, and one that I alluded to a bit earlier. You know what changes both a person's hair color and their eye color? Dyes and contacts. People on the run in witness.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Change their identity, like, I don't know, someone who might be held accountable for the murder of his mom. Just saying. And so there it is, my rationale for why David from Duck Season and Arthur from Boneworks are one and the same, as well as my further rationale and wild speculation as to why both of them are probably also the dog from Duck Season. I still personally think there's plenty of evidence to link all three of them. David has the motivation, he's the right age, his house is directly connected to Monaghan, and the Boneworks literally welcomes him back to the void. The character design differences, sure, that is a blow to this theory, but we also came up with an explanation for that too. Plus, you know what? In video games, characters' looks evolve. I mean, Kirby used to look like this, and Mario used to look like this, and Sonic this, so, you know, it could change. Anyway, that's what I got. Didn't turn out to be much of a mini theory, considering I'm on page 5 right now, but you know what? They never do.
So yeah, honestly, this is sort of like a mini theory. I mean, I'd say it was a good theory. I mean, it's not really a theory because it's more of a hypothesis, but they had a lot of evidence to support the flaws. So yeah, honestly, this wasn't actually that bad of a theory. I did not actually mind it. But yeah, anyways, guys, enjoy, leave a like, and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next one. Bye!